I don't know if you've noticed that the climate is changing, but I live in the state of California and it's getting hotter and hotter and there are fires all the time. Climate change is personally affecting all of us. Aspiration is an environmentally friendly debit card and is offering our listeners up to $200 when you open an account at aspiration.com and spend $1,000 in the first 60 days. Your money can do better at Aspiration. Aspiration is not a bank, it is a game changer. Learn details when you sign up for a better world at aspiration.com. Aspiration Financial, LLC, member SIPC.
Hi, I'm Eric Vitro. I'm a voice teacher and a vocal coach to some pretty successful artists such as Ariana Grande, John Legend, Shawn Mendes. You get the picture. I'm always getting asked, what are their lives really like? Well, in my new podcast from Pushkin, Backstage Pass with Eric Vitro, you'll get to find out. You'll hear Shawn Mendes tell the story about the first song he ever performed for his family.
Pretty sure my mom was crying and everyone was crying and I was like, wow.
John Legend analyzes aspects of his favorite falsetto singers.
I think Prince is obviously one of them. And his is a little like funky. I just want your extra time, yo. Ew.
You'll hear Ariana Grande explain one reason she works so hard.
I always had a very sensitive ear, and it's kind of made me into a perfectionist.
To get the ultimate behind-the-scenes experience, listen to Backstage Pass with Eric Vitro from Pushkin on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hi, I'm Eric Vitro, a vocal coach who works with artists like Ariana Grande, Shawn Mendes, and John Legend. Have you ever wondered what life looks like for people who sing for a living? Well, in my new podcast, Backstage Pass, you'll get to find out. We'll talk about each guest's vocal journey, from the very first song they ever sang through the challenges they faced as they built their career. Listen to Backstage Pass on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh, good afternoon, people. Good morning, good evening. Buenos dias, buenos tardes, buenos noches. Welcome to the Dear Chelsea podcast. We are in season 2. And hi, Catherine. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm great today.
Oh, yeah. You look so chipper. I love it.
Well, thanks. I've had my coffee, or I've been drinking this mud water, which is very tasty, and I'm not missing coffee. So
what is mud
it wakes me
water?
up. It's adaptogens. It's like some kind of mushroom thing. And it has like a little bit of caffeine, like a tea amount of caffeine, but it tastes like chai.
Oh,
it's quite tasty.
I've been drinking chais. Chais with oat milk. That's what Joe gets me when he goes to Coffee Bean. That's his favorite place. But what the fuck is chai? Is chai tea?
I think it's a tea. And I think you can get a latte version, like if you go to a Starbucks or something or go to a coffee shop. But yeah, I think it's a tea.
Is it sugar? It has a lot of sugar.
I think they add sugar and a little bit. You could say easy sugar, but I think it'd be too spicy without sugar.
I have an iced chai with oat milk.
I like that.
And I guzzle it. I love it. Oh my God, it's so delicious. And then I was like, what am I drinking? I don't even know what's in this.
I like a soy chai latte because I think that adds a little extra natural sweetness from the soy milk. That's what I like.
The problem with hot drinks with me is as soon as I have a sip of anything hot, I start to perspire underneath my arms.
Ah, yes. Tricky.
And a couple of other places. I have a very special friend today. Okay, so on this podcast, we talk about the pandemic of love a lot. That my friend, Shelly Tegelski, started, founded, and executes on the regular. And I know that because I have people hit me up on Instagram for money all the time. And I finally have somewhere to send them besides giving them my own money. There's actually a resource for people. And what's even... well, not more exciting, but equally as exciting as Pandemic of Love is that she has a new book that comes out on October 26th. And it's called Sit Down to Rise Up, which is a book I've mentioned earlier, but I really can't say enough amazing things about it. And I have to encourage all of our listeners to go get a copy of this book to make you a better member of your community, to make you feel like a contributor and somebody who is there not just for yourself, but for your neighbors and for the people that are really in need, because there are times in our lives where we need help and there are times in our lives where we can give help. So it is good for everybody to be a community member and a team builder, if you will. I don't know what that means, but I've heard it's a corporate term and I like it. Anyway, please welcome Shelly Tegelski. Hi, Shelly.
Hi.
Hi. Shelly and I became friends at the Wisdom 2.0 conference.
That's right.
With Dan, my psychiatrist. She knows Dan.
I do.
And I met her backstage and she was wearing one of her ridiculously colorful, bright outfits. And I just, in a sea of psychiatrists, neurophysicists, neuroscientists, blah, 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 spiritualists, I just looked at her outfit and I'll never forget. I think you had rainbow sneakers on.
I did, a whole rainbow outfit.
Yeah. And we met backstage and she was normal. And I was like,
Some might say.
I felt, well, you're a normal person for the most part, but not a regular person. You're a normal person. And we went out that night for drinks. I was with my sissy Simone, my sister, my older sister, because it was in San Francisco. And we went out for drinks that night and we just all hit it off. And now she's really good friends with my sister Simone.
I am.
And they spend so much time together.
My sister Simone.
Yeah, that's your sister too. Yeah. My sister's like, I'll take Shelly. Thank you.
I love her.
I know. She's good. She's good. So let's talk about the book first because this is your first book.
It is my first book. It's nerve-wracking.
Is it?
It's frightening and it's exciting at the same time, for sure. Because you're putting so much of yourself out there and you're really nervous about what the reception's going to be.
Right.
But the book is really about connecting the inner work with the outer world. It's frustrating for me as somebody who's in this industrial wellness complex that is constantly trying to sell you things, more beauty products, more chai lattes, more of everything. And it's frustrating for me because I see so many people who spend so much time just working on themselves constantly. And I'm like, in pursuit of what? Just so that you could be better? Or because you actually want to show up differently in the world. And so the whole premise of the book is really to knock people off their asses a little bit and encourage them to not just sit down in meditation and do the inner work, but to rise up and actually make it effective for everybody. The fact that you're a better person, because a better version of the world starts with the best version of ourselves.
Right. And you don't even necessarily need to meditate to rise up.
Correct.
You don't need to sit down to rise up, but it is a great tool to help you. Once you can apply that to yourself, it's easier to apply it to the world.
Yes.
But, you can rise up and you don't have to meditate. If anyone's here like, fuck, I can't do it because I can't rise up because I can't meditate.
Everyone can meditate, Chelsea. You know that.
I know that everyone can meditate. I know that. Well, actually, that's not true. Well, everyone can, but a lot of people get really, really, they lose interest really quickly.
That's true. But I think it's also because we set these like lofty goals for ourselves and we think like, oh, I need to sit down for 20 minutes and burn incense and chant and have a mantra. And that you can actually just meditate in increments of like 90 seconds a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been proven to be really effective. So you can incrementally just reset multiple times throughout the day and still show up differently.
Yeah, I was on a tour bus recently with Joe Coy. You know Joe, obviously. Yeah. We've spent some time with him. You saw him this morning at my house because Shelly slept at my house last night, and Joe also slept at my house last night without his...
Not together. We didn't sleep together.
Actually, well, maybe we did.
I just want to clarify that.
And I was on his tour bus traveling, and I didn't have any alone time. Because when I'm with Joe all the time. And I didn't have any alone time to meditate. And I did that. I just was like, I was with 7 men on a bus.
Oh my God.
Driving through the middle of the night to our hotel that we would arrive at 5 a.m, living a life that I don't want to live. I mean, that I didn't want to live, but I will because I like to be with him. And I would do that. I did those like little bursts, like 90 seconds just breathing, like just sitting alone and taking 3 or 4 really deep inhales and really slow exhales and just calming yourself and calming your brain. And that does really work too.
Yeah.
I feel like, because I like to be such a good student, because I never went to college. So I feel like if I don't meditate 20 minutes every single day, and if I miss 2 days in a row, I'm like, oh, it's over. It's over. I'm going to get arrested. Like it's a nice little kind of thing to do. And I know Eckhart Tolle talks about that too, that it's not about necessarily sitting and meditating for a certain period of time. It's about taking those breaks throughout the day. So that's always good advice. So the book talks about how to kind of do all of that. And in the book, you talk about how you started a meditation group in Florida where you lived.
with 12 friends on the beach in Hollywood, Florida. I had 12 girlfriends that were all going through very different times of their lives. Like one just had cancer, another one was going through a divorce, another was an empty nester. Everybody was going through some sort of like a clusterfuck moment in their lives. And I was that annoying friend who would always tell people like, you should meditate. And finally, one of my friends called me out and she said, well, then teach us how to meditate. Like, stop telling us what to do and actually just teach us. So I said, yeah, great. Let's all just meet on the beach on a Sunday morning. And we did in November of 2015. And within 6 months, we had 1,000 people show up to meditate together just through word of mouth, which was incredible. And so the community, which stopped meeting, obviously due to COVID, the last time I actually was on that beach was on March of 2020, eventually had 15,000 people that were part of that group, which is really phenomenal and a testament to how you can just, snowball things by just continuously showing up.
Oh, that's amazing. 15,000 people. That's so crazy. And you came from corporate America.
Yeah.
She was running a, Fortune 500 company? Something along those lines? I like to throw around corporate terms.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. She was, but you were running a company.
Yes, I was. I was running a company with 2,400 employees in 14 markets across the country. And I was as miserable as it could be. Like, I finally reached my goal. I was like, yes, I finally made it. I wanted to be a CEO. I was living a very goal-centered life. And I was 36 years old. And I remember working late one night. Everybody was gone from the office. It was me and like the person like cleaning the floor. And I just looked around and I started to cry. I just wept. And I was like, I'm so miserable. Is this really as good as my life's going to get now? Like, I finally reached my goal, right? My whole life I've been pining for this. And I realized that night, like, that something really big and drastic had to happen. And when I got home that night, after sitting in traffic, because I-95 is always under construction, I'm sure that will resonate with anyone on that I-95 corridor. I got home and my son, who at the time was, I think, like 14 years old, looked at me and he said, Mom, you know what the happiest day of my life is going to be? And I said, what? And he said, the day you quit your damn job. And I was like, whoa, you should start taking your own advice, lady.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's a nice wake-up call. But that woke you up, right?
It did. It totally did. It threw me out of the nest. So
out of the mouth of babes. Isn't that what parents say? Out of the mouths of babes.
Yes, exactly.
And then something else, and I don't know the rest of the saying, and that's because I'm barren. Okay, so today, since I do have somebody who actually has a lot of experience. Oh, and I also went to a retreat. Let's just quickly recap that. So I was on Martha's Vineyard a few summers ago. Kelly strong-armed me into coming to a retreat in Barry, Pennsylvania.
No, Barry, Massachusetts.
Barry, Massachusetts. Sorry, my bad. That's right. Barry, Massachusetts. And I'm like an idiot. I said, sure. It was a gun violence survival retreat. So basically a lot of people from Parkland and a lot of people from different
Pittsburgh and Chicago, Southside Chicago.
Were there. And so I was like, really, is this appropriate, for me to even be there? But it was, because once you get there, everyone was staying on what is that place called?
It's called the Forest Refuge. It's a Buddhist meditation center that's part of IMS, which is Insight Meditation Society, that was founded by Sharon Salzberg and Jack Kornfeld.
Right. Okay. And those two are very big in the meditation mindfulness game.
Yes.
And I stayed at a hotel because obviously that wasn't going to work.
At a bed and breakfast. I would hardly call it a hotel.
Right. I stayed at what was available closest to the spot.
That's right.
After the first couple days, so there was breakout sessions, you have kind of like group sessions, you get put with a group, and then lunch comes and everyone prepares the lunch together.
Right, you have a yogi job.
Yeah, they're different. You have a yogi job, and I obviously, can't prepare anything.
You cut carrots. I have video of that.
Yeah, because I can cut a carrot, but once I got wind of that would be the meal situation, I had to start to think outside the box. And so one day I was like, I can eat soup and vegetarian food, but at a certain point I'm going to need something a little bit spicier or with a little bit more, action. So I finally found a pizza place. And I remember going on day 3, I went and I was like, I'm fucking done with this food. I am going off on some pizza. And I went to this pizza place and I ordered garlic knots, an entire pizza. And I sat down at the table. And as soon as I had all the food spread out in front of me, and I was like, I am going off. I've eaten nothing but cabbage and soup and it was very light.
Borscht.
Yeah, borscht.
It was borscht.
Something I didn't know that I didn't need. And then 2 other people from the retreat walked in at the same time. And I looked like Harvey Weinstein at a dinner table. Like, it was so disgusting what I was preparing to just shove down my throat. And as I looked up, I'm like, oh no, I'm caught. And then I'm like, wait, they're fucking here too.
Right. It's a small town. It's
Oh
a
my
small
God.
town.
And then the last night, I remember there was that cute black guy there that I was like, had a little crush on and a flirtation
you had a
with.
nickname for him. I can't remember what it was.
The last night we all had drinks and then we invited them over and they came over and I was like, oh God, if I hook up at this retreat, it will all be worth it. I mean, it was worth it anyway, obviously, but that would have just been even better. But I'm glad I didn't hook up with him anyway, because then I saw that picture of him on the beach. Anyway, so we're going to take some callers.
Yeah,
and I
let's
think
do
we
it.
actually, Catherine, who do we have first?
We actually have Alex, who we talked to last season, and you sent him to see Shelley at Pandemic of Love. So he is going to join us and tell us a little bit about his experience.
I love it.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
I could just cry, I swear. How wonderful.
Oh my gosh, Shelley, it's so good to see you. Oh my God. Hi, Chelsea. You and Joe are so cute. Stop it.
I love
They are so
it.
cute together.
Oh my God, look how happy you are. I remember last time we spoke, you were remember? Oh my God. So Alex,
Yeah.
for our listeners, let me just recap. So the last time Alex called in, you were really stressed out about your rent, about seeing your father who had just recently been diagnosed, right, with some cancer.
Yeah, he was in radiation. Yeah.
Yes. And you were a hot mess because you were dealing with so much stress and it was in the middle of COVID and you didn't think you could afford your rent. You didn't know if you were going to get kicked out and you couldn't afford to go see your father. And I said to get in touch with Pandemic of Love and within, I don't know, 72 hours, you had a plane ticket back to see your dad. I mean, talk about miracle working, Shelley. That is a miracle.
I mean, it's just a conduit, really, right?
It's just so beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's.
I just, in retrospect, I feel like at the time I was like flailing and like, I felt like I was drowning and there was like nothing to grab onto because it was like, my dad's sick. My job has been negatively impacted by the pandemic. My housing situation is kind of messed up. And it just felt like there was no kind of safe ground. And yeah, it was wild how quickly Shelley was just like, what do you need? I'm here for you. It's really the last thing you think about when you're in the midst of all that was ask somebody for help. It was just the last thing that came to mind because I think that what's fundamental about your organization, Shelley, is that there's a realization that the last 18 months are bizarre and not normal. And what we're going through is not normal. And we can't have prepared for this, even if we wanted to.
Right.
So.
Right. And we all need each other.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes we're so in this state of freeze, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. And so a lot of us just freeze when we're like flailing, as you described it, and we don't know what to do. So we don't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, and asking for help is like very intimidating.
What's also special about your kind of care is that I intentionally, I don't know if you felt this at all, but I like, after maybe the first week or so, kind of took a step back from sending you updates because you're so upfront with all of the people you're helping who are in such enormous need. And it's really difficult to feel worthy of help, you know, amongst all those people. And I kind of took a step back and just thought, you know, you helped me like cover one of my rent checks. You helped me cover a wildly late electric and gas bill. And then I was just like, you know what? I don't think I need any more. And then about a month later, you DM'd me and you were like, so that trip to see your dad? I was like, what? Like, I thought that like it was a wrap on this. Like,
no.
But it just.
You entered my heart.
You care, you love like relentlessly. And I think that is such like a special gift, especially like as somebody who's a teacher, to love so relentlessly for so many people is like.
Oh, that's so true.
Cry.
That is so true. I wake up and there's text from her going, you are special. You are loved. You need to hear this today. And I'm like, what? I mean,
where does that capacity come from?
I would say it comes from 20 years of metta practice, loving kindness practice, but really just expanding your heart out. I think the more we love on people, the more that it just bounces back and comes back to us, you know?
And it's contagious. Like I've become, I feel like a better teacher just through our small interactions with each other. It's really, really special.
Wow.
I could cry thinking about.
I'm going to cry, Alex.
Well,
oh
now
my
everyone's
God.
crying.
I know.
Catherine, are you crying?
A little bit,
Can you cry? Can you start crying too?
I will.
So tell us, how's your dad doing, by the way?
Yeah. How was your trip?
Oh, he's good. Yeah, you know how those trips to see your parents, I think, get more special as you enter your like mid-20s. We smoked a blunt together. We went and visited my mom's gravestone, which we probably haven't done since she died. And I hadn't been home in over 2 years. So just being home, I think, after being in the city and experiencing that really intense drop of the pandemic it was nice. It was a really good breath of fresh air. So it was amazing. His doctor apparently thinks that he'll be fine for the next 2 years at least. So definitely a breath of fresh air because it was looking pretty bleak for a minute.
Oh, that's great. That's great news.
That's amazing.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
I'm so happy too.
And that's the other thing is I told this to Shelly already, but like I didn't even realize how valuable that trip was because I hadn't seen my dad in 2 years and I might only have 2 years left with him. So it's truly a priceless gift that you gave me, Shelly. Thank you.
Well, it came through Chelsea and it was through her community. So let's remember that it takes a community. That's the whole premise of this, right? It's not one person. It's like we're all, if you are brave enough to ask for help, which you were and you are, then it allows for that floodgate of love to come in. And I'm so happy that we were able to surround you with that love. That's amazing. You're worth it.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that you're also like reciprocating that out to other people.
Yeah,
and taking, because when you are loved, you love, right? And
That's
when
right.
you feel it, you want to give it. So it's always important to remember to, instead of withholding or retreating, to always move towards someone and towards another person.
Yeah, loneliness is sort of selfish in a way. It's like in receiving love, you're actually able to like become a vessel for that to pass on. It's almost like if you ignore that care, it's kind of a lost possibility.
That's right.
Alex. And how's your teaching going, by the way?
I mean, it's better. Broadway's open, baby.
Yay!
We're back. So.
I love it. I love it. You have to come to my show at the Beacon.
So both of you, you're both coming on in October?
Yeah, we'll both be there that same week.
Yeah.
You'll get us both in the same week.
Oh, fun. I love it, Alex. I love these updates. That's so fucking awesome.
I can't wait to meet you and hug you in person.
Me too. Thank you so much, you two.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Love you.
Aw.
Yeah, he deserves our love, right? Everyone does.
It's so amazing.
Joe says I love you to everyone, and I'm just going to start saying it too.
Yes, you should.
'Cause
everybody
it's so
loves
nice.
you. Everybody tells you they love you.
Well,
you should love them back.
I know. Sometimes I don't say I love you to people because I find it to be insincere. But you know what? It's just good to say I love you.
I think so too. It's
or
a good
even
practice.
love you. You don't have to like make it romantic. Okay, Catherine. So what else do we have today?
Well, today we're talking about bettering yourself. And I feel like we just did, talking to Alex. We're talking about self-love, continuing education, healing from a bad relationship, all kinds of ways people are bettering themselves.
Okay, let's do it.
That sounds like a great place to take a quick break, and we'll be back with some callers.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
I don't know if you've noticed that the climate is changing, but I live in the state of California and it's getting hotter and hotter and there are fires all the time. Climate change is personally affecting all of us wherever you live in the world. Aspiration is an environmentally friendly debit card and is offering our listeners up to $200 when you open an account at aspiration.com and spend $1,000 in the first 60 days. Big banks invested more than $500 billion of your money last year in coal mining, oil drilling, and other climate-harming projects leading directly to global warming. Your money can do better at Aspiration. Aspiration is not a bank. It is a game changer. Aspiration will never use your money to fund fossil fuels. With Aspiration, you can choose to plant a tree with every purchase using your spare change and get paid up to 2 days early. Get up to 10% cash back at environmentally friendly partners. Pay 0 fees at over 55,000 ATMs. Learn details when you sign up for a better world at aspiration.com. Aspiration Financial, LLC, member SIPC. If you are working out, the chances are you are wearing synthetic fibers made from oil. So sorry to burst your bubble, but the primary culprit in the global climate crisis is also the main ingredient in your favorite performance apparel. But it doesn't have to be. Allbirds found a more sustainable way with their new collection of natural run apparel. Rigorously tested, the natural leggings are ready for every squat, stretch, and stride. And sustainable materials like eucalyptus fiber help keep you cool and dry naturally. I like that. A compressive high waistband, an internal draw cord leaves you feeling secure and confident, while the versatile back pocket snugly holds your phone. Pair it with the natural run tank to complete the look. With the Allbirds Natural Run Collection, nature is making a comeback. Shop the collection today at allbirds.com. That's ALLBIRDS.com. Life is stressful enough, so access to healthcare shouldn't be. Luckily, getting birth control is one less thing that you have to worry about with the Pill Club. You will never have to make a trip to the doctor or wait in line at the pharmacy ever again. They provide access to care from the comfort of your home and delivery to your door in discreet packaging. The Pill Club carries over 120 FDA-approved brands. Most brands of birth control are free with insurance or Medicaid. Otherwise, prices start as low as $7 per month without insurance. Right now, when you go to thepillclub.com/DearChelsea, the Pill Club is offering a $10 donation to bedsider.org for every Dear Chelsea listener who becomes a patient. Your donation will help low-income individuals get access to birth control through bedsider.org. That's thepillclub.com/DearChelsea to get your first birth control care package and donate to help more women in need of affordable birth control. Remember, thepillclub.com/DearChelsea. You must use the link to make a donation. Promo code Dear Chelsea. Okay, we're back, and Catherine's taken off her blazer. She's really loosening up. My pants are still off, and Shelley's wearing a jumpsuit.
I am.
And actually, I have that exact jumpsuit.
And I literally wore it just for you because you're the jumpsuit queen. And I was like, what should I wear? I'm going to wear a jumpsuit for
I just
Chelsea.
had to pack for my tour, and I was like, I thought I was going away for 4 days, and then I found out I was going away for 3 weeks. And I was like, oh, fuck. I'm like, how many jumpsuits is that? They're like, you need 10 outfits. I'm like, I'm going to need another influx of jumpsuits. But anyway, never mind that part of the conversation. It doesn't really make any sense to anybody who can't visualize what I'm talking about. Okay, so who's next?
So our first question today comes from Alyssa. She says, Dear Chelsea.
My name is Alyssa, and I'm calling in from Denver, Colorado. And I am seeking your advice on how to cultivate the best relationship with yourself. I just got out of a long-term relationship that ended during the pandemic. I thought it was going to end in marriage. Turns out it just ended. I'm really actually feeling empowered by the decisions I've made that feel true to myself. And at the same time, I feel nervous about how to move forward. So I thought I would call in and just ask for what advice you might give to someone who is newly single and interested in renewing that relationship with themselves.
Oh, that's always good.
Nice.
Yeah, because when you go inward, that's when you start to get good stuff going, right? When you're ready to take a look at yourself and create a deeper relationship with yourself is when then you really start to glow.
Yeah, I think it was Walt Whitman who wrote, "Alone and the soul emerges." So if you're willing to go in and go deep, when you get quiet, things can get really, really loud. And that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's also good like that for decision making when you get really quiet. That's something I've learned through meditation. When you can't decide on something or you're having trouble making a decision, to just go and sit alone in silence. And the answer does come to you. It comes to you in your gut, and you know, like, oh, this is the real me, not your ego. And
That's right.
Yeah. It's like your real me, your soul, who you are telling you what to do.
Right. And we usually do exactly the opposite. We usually ask for advice from like everybody who shouldn't even be giving us advice.
Exactly.
So we just like clutter the space with like all this noise.
That's my signature dish, or it was, to go around and just and then I'm looking just for somebody to agree with me, and once I get somebody to agree with me, I'm like, okay, that's the right decision.
Right, which you would have gotten to anyway, had you gone to your alone space. So, Alyssa, I think you're totally on the right track. First of all, you should commend yourself for even having the awareness, the self-awareness to know that you need to hit pause for a moment to sort of recalibrate and get in touch with yourself. Because most people can just jump from one relationship to the next, or, they try to fill that void, if you will, that exists with something else, with a vice or with another boyfriend or with activities or busyness. So congratulations on that. You're on your way. I would say that I'm a very big fan of two things. First, journaling. I write in journals every day. I have for the last, I don't know, God, since I was like in 5th grade or something, and somebody bought me a diary, like a pink diary with like a unicorn on it. But I actually think that writing things down helps you sort your thoughts out. And if you are intimidated by a blank page, there's so many different options for journals that already have prompts that are listed that can really help you get your juices flowing and help you think through a lot of kind of like bigger questions that maybe when you're so busy in a relationship, because you give so much of yourself when you're in a dedicated relationship, it can help you actually sort of bring the focus and the center back to yourself and really ask questions like, well, what do I want with my life? You know, what do I want to do? How do I want to show up? And what do I really want for my next relationship? And it can help you just sort of exfoliate all of that through writing very gently. The other thing I would say is that, you know, you should really consider and think about how you want to invest in yourself, right? Now that you have all this free time and you're not in a relationship, what are some of the things that maybe you did not allow yourself to do? You know, whether it's taking a class or learning a language or traveling or really anything that you could possibly think of that you may have given up on or not even embarked on because you were in a relationship. And a relationship is compromise. We always have to do that. But some relationships are worth doing that for because you can grow together with the person. But I would say just pick one thing. Pick one thing that you are willing to explore, that you've always wanted to explore, and gift yourself with that. And you'll see how amazing things can unfold. And who knows, maybe you'll meet your next partner when you're embarking on that journey.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I like what you said because I would never suggest journaling because I don't do it and I won't do it. But I like that because I think a lot of people benefit from it and it's really helpful to put your thoughts down on paper. My thoughts are always coming out of my mouth, so it's like I don't have to worry about it. Also, you know, meditation, which I suggest to everyone, is a really good way to get to know yourself because you start to understand how your brain works and the distractions that your mind kind of has a pattern with.
Yeah.
So the thing that we talk about a lot on this podcast is when you're not feeling like you're doing it well or you're doing it right. But that's what meditation is. It's getting focus again. It's losing focus and then reclaiming the focus. And it's setting yourself up to understand that your only job is to sit there with your breath and focus. And as soon as your mind drifts, to take it back to the focus. But understanding that your mind is going to continuously drift. That is part of meditation. And it helps so much. I just read this other book about meditation, and it was, I won't mention the name because we're only talking about Sit Down to Rise Up for the rest of our lives, and which is a book that everyone needs to buy. And the two biggest benefits, they said, were impulsivity and focus. So now when I can have a crazy, crazy day with 85 things scheduled, but I can be focused at every single thing that I'm at.
That's right.
And that is a result of meditation because before I had severe ADHD or ADD. I don't know. It was never diagnosed. I don't need anybody to diagnose it because I can diagnose myself.
Right. You're a pharmacologist.
Yeah. And and a doctor that doesn't have a degree, a degreeless doctor, and my reactions to things. Now I can go, oh, look how fast your chest is beating because of something that just happened. Now I notice my body before my brain does something with it. I go, oh, that's you having a reaction to something. And you know what? You're not going to do it this time. And my focus is so much better than it was. So that's also a great way to get to know yourself and to get to know your thought patterns and to rehabituate yourself with different thought patterns. And yes, again, also the fact that you're even asking the question means that you've taken the first step into discovering yourself and getting to know yourself better. And I love what you said about maybe not having had the time in a relationship to explore certain things, but then being able to do that, taking the time now to go, do whatever it is that you find interesting. And meeting somebody like that is a strong possibility because when you say to the world or the universe or whatever you think, when your energy is like, hey, I'm getting healthy and as healthy as I can be, all you're going to attract is other healthy people.
That's right. yeah, you're definitely putting that energy out there.
So it's a major domino effect. It's just like, if you complain about something, then that becomes your narrative. And if you are happy about something, then that becomes your narrative. So it's like, what do you want to spend your time doing? Being happy or complaining?
What you focus on expands.
That's right.
There you go, Catherine.
There you go.
Yeah. Catherine is also a psychiatric unicorn.
I do my best.
A degreeless doctor. We're all degreeless doctors here. Do you have a degree? We don't want to talk to you. If you have a degree, we are not interested in communicating.
My degree is in playwriting, so.
Well, that's perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then maybe you'd be interested in starting to journal, Catherine, if you haven't already, since you're already good at writing. Okay. Anyway. Well, that was good, right?
Yeah, I think, Alyssa, you've got some tools in your toolbox, and just keep adding more tools in your toolbox. That's the point.
Yeah, and I'm glad that your every time a relationship ends, it is a beginning of something new, a beginning of a new phase of your relationship. So when anything ends in my life now, I have that attitude like, okay, that wasn't meant to be for much longer, or that's over. But look how exciting the next thing is, because anytime something ends, something exciting begins. That is just the way the world works.
Yeah. And, you can speak from a personal space because you had spent the last few years not in a relationship, right? Several years.
Yeah.
And you really did a lot of deep dive, like work on yourself, went to therapy, tried new things, said yes to a lot of things. And you were able to create new connections and really discover a better version of yourself.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of my relationships didn't survive my therapy. Not a lot, but a couple of important relationships in my life didn't survive therapy. And that was also a good thing for me. It was a good thing to get rid of that kind of unhealthy attachments or negativity. And even though it was like, oh, you get healthy and you realize you want to be around healthy people. And you want to have healthy relationships that have boundaries and that are adult-like instead of, living out your childhood as an adult.
Amen, sister.
Oh, assalamu alaikum.
Well, our next question comes from Clayton. He is in Chicago. He says, Dear Chelsea, back in 2019, I started at a company where I knew the CEO, and taking this position allowed me to go back to school in the evenings. The CEO has been super supportive. I told her I would need to go down to 4 days a week at work, working longer hours during those 4 days. She agreed, and all is good. Several people left the company in the past 2 years, and many of those responsibilities got added to my role, the most recent being an extremely time-consuming data entry position that layers on top of my current full-time responsibilities. When discussing my concerns about workload with HR, I asked if there would be a monetary supplement for taking on these additional responsibilities. The HR person promptly replied, No, there will not, and went on to say that they didn't think I was contributing enough to the company to justify my current salary. I was taken aback, as I take pride in my work ethic and the quality of work I put out. I'm typically a happy person, but I can't get the negative thoughts of work out of my mind. How do I flush this negativity out of my system and get back to the self I enjoy being? Clayton. And he's with us.
Hi, Clayton.
Hey, how are you?
We're good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Well, that's really frustrating. I can imagine how frustrating that must be to take on extra work and then be told you're not doing enough, which is complete and utter horseshit.
Yeah, I have some probing questions though, to just learn a little bit more. So, you're still in school, yes?
Yes, I have 2 years left.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you're still working 4 days a week, and I'll put that in quotations because I'm sure it's not actually 4 days a week. It's just for Monday through Thursday, let's say, but you're working weekends probably.
Yeah.
And overtime. Are you still friends with the CEO of the company?
I am. Yeah, we have a really nice rapport.
Okay. And have you had this conversation with the CEO, or do you feel like it's something that you don't want to go to or risk the rapport of the relationship with the CEO?
Yeah, I haven't gone to her yet, mainly because when I was talking to the HR person, she prefaced it as we think instead of I think. So the confusing thing for me is really, if this was an issue, I'm surprised that she didn't say anything to me.
Right. In other words, if you weren't contributing enough before, your supervisor should have at least mentioned that to you and said, Clayton, we don't think you're doing enough, rather than just saddling you with additional workload and then saying, well, you're not doing enough, so here we're saddling you with more work for no additional pay. So I get how you're feeling. And, it's a tricky situation because I understand that you probably don't want to jeopardize your relationship with the CEO, that you have a nice rapport. But I also think that you do need some clarity. And I think that you deserve some clarity. If I was in your position and I had spent 20 years in the corporate world, so I can speak from a place of personal experience, in situations where I had a rapport with the CEO or reported directly to that individual, I would carefully, and I'll say carefully because I don't think you should come at it like, oh, I'm your friend, so let's have a friendly discussion. But in a careful and respectful way, I would maybe try to be a little bit vulnerable, and I would word something very carefully, like really kind of rehearse it ahead of time, right? There's a really great book called Difficult Conversations that you should get. It's great because it actually creates this model for you that is like pretend you're person A and pretend you're person B, and you can actually have somebody else train with you. You could already prepare what you want to say. You can go through the process before you actually show up to have the conversation with the CEO so that you don't feel nervous or sick to your stomach or however you physiologically feel before you have to do something that is really nerve-wracking. And you can be prepared when you go in to just have a really respectful conversation. And at the worst case scenario, right? The worst case scenario is that you don't get a raise, but you get clarity. Right? And you can preface everything by saying, I love working here and I appreciate the support that you all have given me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the things that you want to say. But I would say that you should just prepare yourself for a conversation, ask for a private meeting with the CEO, and very respectfully just air your grievances to just get clarity. Maybe you won't walk out with more money, but you sure as hell at least will walk out with some clarity around the fact that you are appreciated at the company and that you are doing enough and that you are enough so that you don't have to feel resentful and find that that's stewing over time.
Yeah. And just because the HR person says we, I mean, that's what they say. They say we for a reason, right? What is your relationship like with the CEO? Like, what kind of rapport do you have?
I used to work for her husband. They both have startup companies, and I jumped over to hers so I could go back to school.
And what is the size of the company?
It's a small company.
Oh.
There's like less than 40 people.
So then it does sound totally appropriate to talk to her.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think so. I think if you hold it back, you're just going to be brewing and stewing with resentment.
Yeah,
over
I can
time.
see it in your face. So if not for any other reason than to alleviate the bad feeling that you have about the information that she gave you, which is insensitive and icky all around.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, but don't let her, dictate your mood. You talking to the CEO is taking it into your own hands since you have your own personal relationship with her. And that's saying, okay, this is not okay with me. And I need a better answer for this. And I need to, have a better peace of mind about it, which is also you taking charge of the situation, which is exactly what you should be doing to have a better peace of mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let us know how that conversation goes, Clayton, and have it sooner than later. Are you prepared to do that?
Definitely. Yeah.
Great. Well, that's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope everything works out, but keep us posted. I want to hear back.
Will do.
Thanks, Clayton. Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, bye. That was good. I'm glad you were here for that corporate shit because I wouldn't know what my sister, Simone, who Shelly's friends with, she fucking works in corporate America.
Yes,
works
she
for
does.
a biotech firm in San Francisco. And when she talks about work, I want to stab myself in the throat. It's so fucking boring. It is so boring. And she has to manage people and then she's got a supervisor and all of that. I'm just
lot of
like,
moving parts.
What the fuck? And she's like, Chelsea, it's not like I want to be doing all of this. Everybody has to do this. It's a part of my responsibility. It's not like I'm doing it for fun. Like I have this role in a company. I'm like, but why? But why? But yeah, corporate America makes my stomach. It's just like, oh, everybody. I have no respect for authority figures either. People telling me what to do. The other day, I was driving. I was in Spain. We were driving down the street to my house, and the police. You're not allowed to drive on this street unless you have a house on the street. And because it's kind of like an esplanade.
Right.
And the Spanish police were like, hey, no cars. I'm like, I live down there. And they're like, no, it doesn't matter. And my friend's in the car. And I go, yeah, it does matter. I live right there. I can drive right here. You're not telling me what to do. And I just kept driving. And my friend goes, you have the pass right here, like on your dashboard. She goes, just stop it and I'll show it to them. And I was like, fuck those guys. I was like, so I have no regard for any authority figure telling me what to do. I just don't like it, especially when it's a man.
Didn't you ever have a real job before you I broke
tried
into comedy?
No. I mean, I tried to be a temp. I would get fired. I could not transfer a phone call. I waited tables. That was all I could do. But I got fired from that too because I would tell people off all the time. I would just go off on people.
Oh my God.
And if they didn't look me in the eyes, I'd be like, you don't even deserve to eat here if you can't look at your server in the eyes. I would go off on people because people are so fucking rude when they eat at restaurants. They have no table manners and no bedside manner. But no, I can't. My sister Simone said to me once, she goes, when I was upset, in my 20s, when things weren't going the way I wanted to or as quickly as I wanted to, I remember her going, you will succeed at this because you cannot do anything else. You will succeed.
I could so hear her saying that.
She's like, you don't worry. You're never going to have a real job because you wouldn't be able to keep it. So anyway, those were the words of encouragement from my big sister.
Love it.
What's next, Catherine?
Okay, so our next caller, Amber, says, Dear Chelsea, I just got out of a 3-year relationship. In most aspects, I've never been more confident in my life. I just got a great new job, I've been in therapy for a year, and I'm finally financially secure. But inside, I feel deep sexual shame. For the last 9 months of this relationship, there was no sex, no physical connection, nothing more than what felt like friendship. Over time, when I would make a move, my boyfriend would make me feel like I was being inappropriate or pushy. It's now been a year since I've had sex, and not only am I incredibly frustrated, but I've become very insecure about the length of time, and that makes me even more frustrated. Now I'm so fragile with being rejected sexually that I can't even imagine being able to cuddle up next to someone again. I went back onto a dating app to see if I felt a connection, and I did. But when they wanted to meet and probably have sex, I freaked out and deleted my profile. Clearly, I'm not ready, but how do I manage to get back in the dating pool after this negative experience? Amber.
Oh, hi, Amber.
Hi.
Hi. You're so
It's great to meet you. Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's great to meet you too. This is Shelly.
Hi.
Hi, Shelly. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
She's our special guest today. She's a very good friend of mine who gives very sagacious advice. So you're in for a real treat. First of all, I just want to say to you that I have gone multiple times for years without sex. I don't know what the longest was, but definitely more than a year. So that is not uncommon. So there's no reason to beat yourself up about that. That happens all the time to people. And there's no reason just to have sex just so you can not go a year without it. That's lamer than going a year. And yeah, it sounds like your last boyfriend just kind of did a number on you that you're still recovering from, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely feels like I'm just still recovering from that, I think. So yeah, I definitely just am not ready to go there yet, but I know when I am ready, I still feel that a little bit scared, a little nervous, and I just hate the idea of being rejected again. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. But you're not alone in that. So many people experience that fear of rejection, that fear of being intimate again, the fear of I used to be so uncomfortable going on dates with people that I would have to have 2 cocktails before I could even show up because I'm like, what do I do? How do I act? What do I say? Giving off this energy that I was just so guarded and so get away from me, and knowing that you're not ready, is incredible because that's knowing yourself. And fear of rejection is a very common feeling. And that's something that you can easily work through. And it takes a little bit of time, but you can get there. And you're totally hot. You're totally young. You got all this stuff going for you. You're going to find somebody. Not a lot of people spend their lives being single forever. Being single is a period of time that you have to really, really take advantage of.
Yes.
I have been single for years and I'm recently in a new relationship. And I'm so glad that I spent that much time alone because now he'll never leave me alone. I will not be alone again. So I put all the time and effort into myself for this purpose. And, that's the way it works. Shelley, let's talk to her a little bit. What do you think?
Well, I have a question regarding like intimacy. Do you have other types of intimate relationships in your life? Meaning, do you have friends or family members that you're really like loving on that you can like hug and be intimate with in a physical way? That isn't inappropriate, of course.
Right. I'm really close with my family. I have a really great group of friends. I have a dog that I rescued a year ago.
Great.
So I do feel like I have so many other great things going in my life.
Right.
And it just felt like this one piece kept overshadowing everything else amazing that is happening in life right now, and getting my dream job and finally being financially secure and figuring out my mental health. And so I just kept feeling like, why do I go back to this specific piece?
Right.
So I do feel so grateful that I do have that really great connection with friends and family and everything.
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
we live in this like culture now that, and I've been married now for 15 years, so I don't necessarily fully understand this culture of, dating apps, because there were no apps when I got married. But I think that there's so much pressure to sort of create that one-on-one connection really quickly, and for it to like work out or for it to become intimate really quickly as well. And I kind of feel like my best advice would be, especially because you have a great group, it sounds like you have a great network and a community of friends and family and people who love and care about you. And especially now that we're in a phase where you can at least go outside and not have to be stuck in a house for 18 months, you can actually go to the old-fashioned way of trying to meet somebody in a natural setting, right? And that maybe takes the pressure off, because things can happen and naturally unfold slowly and carefully, as opposed to it going from 0 to 60 in like a matter of a minute, right? And I agree with Chelsea. I think that, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and we're like, oh, I need to just have an intimate relationship or go have sex because I haven't had sex in a year. And really, it's not about that. I think it sounds like, especially from what you're saying, like it's really more about intimacy and not just having that like one night stand, and just like, okay, I did it. I got over it. Because I actually think that could also cause a lot of issues. You can then start self-analyzing yourself if it didn't go the way you wanted it to go. So I would just say, focus on your friends, focus on the intimate relationships you do have, and put yourself out there in new ways that you haven't done before, right? Say yes. Go out to the events and to the things that are, of course, being safe in the world that we live in today, but go out and just try new things and do new things with all the people that you love. And when you radiate in that environment of the people that you feel safe and comfortable with, you'll start to attract other people into that space as well.
That's great advice. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And you have to think of abundance, right? Like what you said is all abundance. You have a rescue dog. You have a close relationship with your family. You have friends. Those are all wonderful things that you have in abundance. And if you focus on that, that attracts more and more abundance. Instead of focusing on what you don't have in this moment, you want to focus on when you do have the opportunity to be with somebody, that you've done the work, the inner work, and that you've done the self-esteem work, and that your ex-boyfriend doesn't define you. He doesn't define how you believe, think about yourself. You decide what you are, who you are, and how you're going to be in this world. And you're lovely. And anyone would be lucky to be with you. So I'm not worried for a second about you. I think we always just get into situations where we think we're single and we panic. It's like, no, that's a cause for celebration too. Singledom is celebratory. And you experience great relationships with your friends and your family, especially when there's no love distraction.
Right.
Because when love comes in, then it is a big, big distraction. Falling in love is a huge distraction. So put in the time and effort now so that your family and friends don't get mad at you when you do fall in love.
That's great. And it actually also, you inspired me. I really love skiing, and now I can work remotely. So I'm thinking about going to Breckenridge for all of February.
Ooh,
and just
love
skiing
it.
and working. And I was like, this also frees me from having to, hang around San Diego. And so I can move around and do things. And actually you inspired me. I thought, oh, I could do that now. I'm free. I'm single. So I'm trying to kind of get in that mode of thinking of those things. So
love it.
Hearing it from you too is really helpful. So I really appreciate it.
I see a ski love relationship in the future.
I love Breckenridge. That's a great place to ski.
I love skiing. I love margaritas.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, Breckenridge is great. That's where I learned.
Well, that's already a great decision you made. So good for you.
Thank
and
you.
have a fucking blast. And keep us posted, Amber, okay? If there's any great developments or you have anything to share, always call back.
I will. Thank you so much. It was so great to meet you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Bye, Amber.
Thank you so much. Bye.
I love energy like that.
I have to cough.
Oh, go ahead. Do you want to cough on me?
No. I went down the wrong pipe.
Yeah. How does that happen with water?
I don't know. And I always
so annoying.
I always thought I only had one pipe. Do we have more than one pipe?
Listen, I didn't know that there were 3 holes down there for a long time either, okay? I was like, wait, what? My sister had to explain. She's like, Chelsea, honestly, between you not knowing the difference between the moon and the sun,
I heard that story.
And you don't know the 3 holes that are down there. I'm like, wait, I thought your period and your vagina were the same. Fuck, I'm a mess. I'm like, where is that hole? She's like, what? I'm like, I thought that when you put a tampon, forget it. I let's not even get into it. But I can't be the only one.
Good Lord.
I don't know what I was doing during class when I was growing up.
Not there.
Well, I was not paying attention, that's for sure. But I didn't start smoking weed until I was like an adult. So I guess I probably found I probably was on Pop Rocks.
Pop Rocks and cola.
Yeah, Amber, I wish we could look at being single the same way we look at when you meet someone.
Yeah.
You know, because the beginning of being single and then like that whole, you know, for lack of a better term, journey of being single is where you grow up.
Right.
That's where you grow and you become your best self. And I wish people looked at that and in that way, like, I just met someone. It's called me and we're going to be together. I decided I've just found out recently that I like my own company.
Right.
And that was something that helped me so much, was spending time alone for the first time in my life without having so much noise and groups of large groups of people around me. That was something when I got to know myself a lot better by just remaining alone. Even when I was bored, I would be like, you can't be bored. Like, go read a book, go watch a show, go take a walk. Like, you can't do that anymore. You're not bored. And it's good to, it's good to get down with yourself.
Yeah. Loneliness that turns into solitude.
Mm-hmm.
It's so great.
Well, I think, Amber, also, as women, we tend to blame ourselves when someone else has a reaction in that type of way. We just talked to her. She's gorgeous. We saw her on the video. She's got a cool job. She's clearly articulate. Like, him not wanting to have sex had nothing to do with her.
Oh, right. Exactly.
Totally.
But as women, you're so right, Catherine. Like, every time, I can't tell you how many guys have not been able to perform sexually in the bedroom with me when push came to shove, when I was on a date, or I've gone out on a couple dates with somebody, or I've brought someone back to my house where they could not have a sex. Whatever it is about me was so emasculating and such a turnoff that they could not get an erection. That I would literally say to my friends, does my vagina smell? Like, can somebody smell my vagina? Because I think something's wrong with my vagina. It's like, no, it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
I mean, it probably has a little to do with you, but more your person, but it's not. It's like everyone's going through their own shit. And when a man doesn't want to have sex with his girlfriend, that's because something's going on with him.
That's right.
Yeah.
Totally. He needs to do the deep dive. He should call in next time.
Or maybe he was cheating, Who knows? Maybe he had something going on the side.
Maybe he doesn't like women.
Maybe he's gay.
Yeah.
Our next email comes from Charlotte. She says, Dear Chelsea, so I have 2 sons that I love with all my heart. They're 35 and 28, and I've raised both by myself since their douchebag father basically wanted nothing to do with them after I packed our shit up and left him. I've told my sons to never bring me a grandchild. I tell them, if you want to bring me something to cuddle up with, bring me another rescue pup. I really don't want grandchildren. Is there something wrong with me because I don't want any? Charlotte.
No, that sounds pretty accurate. I mean, I'm Charlotte. I'm with you. Well, from my perspective.
I don't know about that.
Well, what do you think she doesn't want grandchildren for?
Well, I think because she doesn't want the responsibility. She's like, man, I was saddled with these 2 kids, and I was a single mom for a few years, and it was really tough. And yeah, you have no time for yourself. You have no money. You're broke. You're tired. You're angry all the time. You certainly don't have time to date. Suddenly, she's raised these 2 grown men who she loves dearly, but she's looking back at that period of her life, obviously with some form of trauma, right? So there's some unresolved trauma that's there that's now sort of creating this filter, this lens that she's looking at children through. It's like all children. And so if my kids get married and they decide to have children, then I'm going to be saddled somehow with those children. And at the end of the day, we both know it's not her decision whether or not they are going to have children or not, right?
I feel like it should be after she fucking raised those 2 sons by herself. I feel like she should have a say in whether or not they procreate.
Well,
I think more people need to have less children, quite frankly, you know?
Well, that's a whole different discussion for another day. I could agree with that. I could get on that bus for sure. But I would say that it's not her choice. But what is her choice is, the boundaries that she's able to set once they do have children and what type of grandmother she wants to be. I know grandmas that are like my mother, very hands-on and actually suffocating sometimes.
Yeah.
Often, most of the time, actually. If I'm just trying to soften that a little bit, but she's not going to listen to this podcast. So
you never
matter.
know. She'll hear about it from somebody. I promise you.
No. I love you, Mom. I really do. But you could be that type of grandma, or you could be the type of grandma that's out and about, like a Vanderbilt or something, that's like just traveling the world and popping in once in a while with like a few trinkets and then, darling, would you like to go have a martini together? And then you leave again,
Right. I don't want to be a grandmother. I just know children lead to more children, And I don't want anybody to ever refer to me as Bunny, which is a new nickname that grandmothers are using. Bunny.
Why?
Exactly. Because Mimi's out, and then there's the other one, Nana, Mimi. All the words that people want to create so that they don't have to be called grandma.
What's wrong with grandma?
Well, I know. Some people, because they think it makes them old if they're a grandmother, so they want a different name, But
look, you're such a great aunt. You've really taken all of those children that you didn't want to have under your wing.
Right.
And you are involved, but you have boundaries. So when it's time for you to focus on your shit, you just extricate yourself.
Yeah. I go move. I just leave them in my house and then I go move into another house. I've done that a couple times. I go, you guys all stay here. I'm leaving. That's a separate conversation too. You know what? You're great at giving advice. I mean, I have nothing else to add. Shelley's the fucking one in charge today. She's much more insightful because I just end up, you have a wider breadth of experience with different types of personalities and different life experiences. So it's very helpful to hear your insight on all of this.
I'm a degreeless doctor.
Yes, aren't we all?
Well, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and finish up.
Okay,
cool.
That sounds wonderful,
great.
Catherine. I love when Catherine's like captain of this ship.
She's like,
we're going to get you a captain's hat, Catherine.
Yes, she's
Excellent.
like Perry Gilpin's character in Frasier.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
What was her name on the show?
Roz. Yes. She was my favorite on that show.
Roz.
Yes, you're our Roz.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
I want to get back to being in my community group.
I want to continue having a soccer season.
So I can throw parties again.
So I can go to her parties.
It'd really be nice to dine in instead of getting delivery for a change.
So I can feel safe and protected for myself and my students.
We each have our own reason for why we're getting vaccinated against COVID-19. What will yours be? Visit getvaccineanswers.org for information on the COVID-19 vaccines. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Real-Time Crime Podcast isn't just for the true fans of true crime. It's for people who have an obsession.
Why do I obsess over true crime? It's because I need to know every detail of every single story, because they say that the devil's in the details. So we're going to find out who's the devil here.
Join Leah Lamar and Teddy Mellencamp for an iHeartRadio original podcast dedicated to the passion of every armchair detective.
I will go down any rabbit hole and dig down any crime because
I will do your dirty work on any topic involving any bad guy.
Embark on a quest to unravel unsolved mysteries and delve into current criminal trials in real time. Each week, Lamar and Mellencamp are joined by investigative professionals who will reveal the inner workings of crime solving and criminal justice.
And we are all obsessed with this case, right?
Beyond obsessed with this case.
Beyond obsessed.
Listen to Real Time Crime on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, and we're back.
We're back.
And this is your last reminder to pick up a copy, order your copy, please, of Shelley Tegelski's new book, which is called Sit Down to Rise Up. I wrote the foreword for it.
Yes, you did.
So suck on that.
It was great. So authentic. I loved it. Thank you for doing that for me.
Oh, my God. My pleasure. I thought it's the least I can do. Do you know how many thousands of dollars you've saved me with all the people that come to me asking for their rent money? Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I'm keeping tab.
I used to do it. I used to give people
That's
money.
crazy
and then
to me. I can't believe that.
But it always backfires. Like one woman needed teeth, so I gave her like 20 grand to get teeth. Then she needed another set of teeth because the teeth she got, she said, weren't good enough.
What?
I was like, what kind of vicious cycle is this? How many sets of teeth do I need to get you? I had made a joke about people who have no teeth on my TV show.
Oh, wow.
And so I felt obligated.
Oh, my God. But you know, people still tell me that you're one of the only people that still responds to them on DMs.
Oh, yeah. I like
because they're like, I wrote to 100 different celebrities, and the only response I got was from Chelsea.
Oh, well, you know what? I feel like people really need to be heard and seen. I really feel that way. I like to notice people, and I like them to feel like they're heard. I mean, at least once. You know what I mean? I know. Okay. Anyway. Okay, so what else do we have, Catherine?
So we have one quick question, and this is really right in the wheelhouse for both of you. Dear Chelsea, you briefly mentioned using cannabis while meditating. What do you recommend, and how much cannabis is too much for meditation? Gavin.
Oh, I would say keep it very light because, you know, sometimes with cannabis, you lose your train of thought, which is actually great for meditation.
Wait a minute.
You need to lose your train of thought, but your mind can wander more easily sometimes when you're stoned. So I like to keep it light, just 2.5 milligrams or 5 milligrams max, I would say, for just to get you into a relaxed state, so that you can sit still and you don't want to overdo it so that you're a blotto. You want to be present for your meditation.
That's right. Yeah, I would say microdosing for sure to help you get into that state, because otherwise I tend to either fall asleep or think about food.
Yeah, right. The food is a problem.
It's a big problem.
Yeah. I mean, we were in New York the other night and I gave Joe an edible because if I don't, I have to start drugging him at around 11 o'clock because if I don't, he will stay up until 3 in the morning every single night. And I'm just like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So I always give him a little chocolate when he gets off stage. I'm like, here, honey, take this. So because he's so amped, right, from performing, which I know that feeling. And then we got back to the hotel, and I mean, when I say he ate everything in the minibar, first of all, I was getting it for him because he was in bed, sitting in bed, and he had eaten a thing of pretzels. Then he opened up the Pringles. He's like, you have to taste these Pringles. I'm like, no, I have more experience with cannabis. I'm not going down that fucking booby trap. Like, I'm not putting a Pringle in my mouth right now. And then I go, do you want to? So I went and got, a healthy snack, like the cranberry and nuts thing or whatever. And I brought that back. He polished that off. And he's like, is there another one of those? And I said, there is, Joe. But like at a certain point, don't you need to stop fucking eating?
That's at the point where he falls asleep.
I know. And he was laughing so hard at me for yelling at him. Like, I was like, you really stop it. He has really bad eating habits, although he doesn't eat meat. So that's good.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I love him even more now.
I
He's
know.
my
I love
people.
that about him.
That's
I know.
so great.
But he will eat an entire bag of cheddar cheese, sour cream, potato chips, which makes me want to sew my vagina closed.
But we digress.
Anyway, sorry.
Back to the question. Yeah, see, that's what happens in meditation, by the way.
Yeah.
Your mind just starts, we went from like talking about meditation to talking about food to talking about your closed vagina.
Exactly.
So
that's that's the story of our life. Before we go, I want to also let everybody know that I announced new tour dates. I announced my Canadian dates. So you guys who have been asking when I'm performing in Canada, they're up. I'm coming to Winnipeg, Ontario, Vancouver, of course,
Amazing.
Toronto, Calgary? I don't know. Just look it up. ChelseaHandler.com. And I have many more dates in the States coming up too in November. I'm coming to Rochester, Buffalo, and Syracuse. Oh, actually, first, I'm coming this weekend. St. Petersburg, Miami Beach, Orlando, and Jacksonville. October 28th, 29th, and 30th. And then I'm coming to New York and then Denver. Anyway, go to ChelseaHandler.com, go to LiveNation.com, get your tickets, come see me on tour, vaccinated and horny. I'm fucking loving it. And I want to thank you, Shelley.